we'll be coming up on our 6-year anniversary on January 3rd of our radio project. Wow, how time flies. The Buckmaster Show live line opened for you. It's Showdown Day. The Showdown is the first Thursday of the month, 790-2040. If you would like to call in and join in the conversation, enhance what we have to say. Our monthly Showdown features two gentlemen who rarely agree on anything. However, there have been some recent occasions where they have been on the same page, namely TUSD. Seated to the right of me, Sean McCluskey. Mr. McCluskey, Tea Party and Republican activist who is now the host of the afternoon show, The Talk of the Town, from 1 to 3 right here on KVOI. How are you, Sean?
Doing well. Join me Saturday.
Yeah. It's a good show.
It's good to drive around. We're gonna
I
have,
hear it as I'm out running errands. Like
most people
a lot
do.
Of people. A lot of people listen to this program. They're in the car during the noon hour. They're going out to lunch. This is kind of like the midday drive time.
Absolutely.
So very happy with the noon hour. To the left of me, Mr. David Morales. David is a self-avowed leftist, creator of the Three Sonorans blog site, which is quite a popular site. You've reached how many?
I just broke the 2.9 million mark.
Oh my! Of people that have viewed the site.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a service that monitors this?
Yep.
All right. Well, congratulations to you. David also is let's put it this way. He's been a very, very passionate critic of Dr. H.T. Sanchez, the superintendent of TUSD, and of the majority board, but all of that's changing, Sean and David. We had Rachel Sedgwick, the newest board member, on the Buckmaster Show yesterday. I met her for the first time. She was on Wake Up Tucson this morning. Your impressions, gentlemen, of Mr. Sedgwick, Ms. Sedgwick. David?
I've actually met her multiple times, and actually one time I was seated across from dinner from her. We talked for a few hours. I think she's okay. I think the only thing I'm worried about is just that there's a steep learning curve for TUSD, and she will learn that as time goes on, that there's things that go back decades and decades. There's a lot of people that are gone now. HT's cabinet and everything is just a pretty much brand new crowd. So digging for the truth is going to require a lot of community input and effort on her behalf. But I do think she's definitely better than Cam.
What do you think, Sean? What do you think of her from your impressions?
I'm hopeful for TUSD. Rachel is going to have, like David said, have a very steep learning curve, a very fast, and she's going to trial by fire pretty much through a water hydrant. She's going to have a huge amount of information to take in. But if she was smart, she's the woman in the middle. So don't pick a side. And when you have a question, go to Hicks and go to Stegman and ask them the question that you have, and then go ask the same question and see what answer you get from the other side. And then make up your own mind. I think she's got enough conviction to make up her own mind and not be swayed by either one of the two sides.
Well, the contract for Superintendent Sanchez, there's 18 months on the contract. Would it surprise you, Sean McCluskey, if that comes up early in January, right after the swearing in of Ms. Sedgwick?
I would tend to say a specific non-performance of his current contract may come up and ask for a vote on it and see what happens. That'll be her very first big test, and you'll see which way she goes at that point. Hopefully she says, look, HT, you got to go, especially with the events that he just put her through the other day with the parent.
That was the Utterback?
Correct, yeah. Situation. When she was invited to a meeting with the parents, and the parents, HT basically said the parents can have the meeting, but she wasn't allowed to be inside the meeting, and that's ridiculous. She's on the school board. Well, she will be on the school board, so why not get her educated now and see what's going on? But if that's the education you're getting and the superintendent doesn't even want to allow you in a meeting, it's going to be a contentious relationship, and hopefully she makes the right decision and fires him.
David, if you listened to my interview yesterday where I asked her about the future of Dr. Sanchez, she said that there would be performance goals that would be laid out for him. She indicated that she would not be ready to jump in and say he's through.
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate, but the nasty character of TUSD politics is such that she's going to really, I know she doesn't want to, but she is going to define herself at the very beginning with that vote. And she's probably, I would guess, if I had a bet right now, she's probably going to vote to not fire H.T. Sanchez. And I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying, but it will haunt her because every time there's a mistake that's made, because it's going to be impossible to bring this up again for another vote. And people will just say, you had your chance, you had your chance. And so she's going to have to really rely on H.T. doing the right thing if she does not fire him.
That was not okay. Go ahead, Sean.
I was just say it comes down to, can you live with him for 18 more months? You've already had him for so long, and he doesn't need to have a track record put out in front of him. He's got a record behind him, and they call me Captain Chaos in the morning in jest, but he's just nothing but a wake of chaos, and it's not good.
All right, that was not going to be my lead topic today, but I did want to get you guys to weigh in on the new board member since I did just meet her yesterday. My topic of the day, Sean and David, can we get together here? The election's a month behind us. It's in the rearview mirror. Can we, as Americans, come together and give Mr. Trump a chance? David Morales. And do you have second thoughts, David, about going the third-party route, which in effect put Mr. Trump in office?
I don't know if I would agree with that last part. I mean, I think so I voted for Jill Stein. I'm a member of the Green Party, and the voting for Hillary wouldn't have made a difference in Arizona, and in a lot of states. And so I think, well, first of all, we have to deal with Trump. I mean, you know, whether you're Republican or Democrat, he's as much my president as he is your president. And you know, if some people have fears and some people have hopes, I mean, it's the same. We're the same people. So I don't think the sky is falling. I do think that some good things are that he's mobilizing the activist community. And, you know, he's backing up on a lot of stuff. You know, the wall's not going to be built, and he's not going to put Hillary in prison. And, you know, he's already a classical politician, you know, breaking his promises. But, you know, that's kind of good on my point of view. But I think you just have to watch and see. Reality is going to hit him, you know, and just like H.T. Sanchez, who had no experience being a superintendent, you know, you can't just come in there and it's a whole new game, and we'll see.
Wasn't he a superintendent, though, in Texas?
He was an interim superintendent for 3 months or something.
Just wanted to make sure. Okay, Sean.
So we lived through 8 years through Obama, and it was a dismal 4 years previous to Obama. So everybody is looking for a surge or an uplift. And you've already seen it. He hasn't even taken office yet. I mean, you've seen it with Ford Motor Company. You've seen it with Carrier in Indiana. He's doing positive things, and he hasn't even taken office yet. He's put a cabinet together that's more conservative than Reagan's cabinet. That scares the ever-living you-know-what out of the left. But when you look at the everyday American, and I use my office a lot because they're out there living life every day in the city of Tucson, city of Tucson, excuse me. And when they came to me about 2 months ago and said, hey, my Obamacare went from $800 to $1,200, I can't afford it. That is something that's directly affected by the Democratic Party when they had a supermajority. Well, thankfully, there's no more supermajority, but the Republicans are going to have to come up with a solution to reduce the costs and also effectively not remove anybody who's currently covered. So that's a huge task, and that's something that they're working on. They've got a couple good plans. I think Price, his pick to take care of the situation.
Health Secretary.
Yeah, Health Secretary, thank you. He is a great pick for this. He's got a great plan. I do believe that Trump is putting the right people in the right place, and we're going to move the country forward, and it's going to lift everybody up.
Well, I think his choice for education secretary is a huge disaster and basically an enemy of public education. I think it's interesting if you look at his cabinet. I just read an article today that's like the richest cabinet ever. He's got billionaires. He's got Wall Street people in there.
They know how to make money. They can change the country around.
Right, but see, during the election, it was always Hillary's about Wall Street, right?
And drain the swamp.
and so now it's I think to me, it's not about Democrat or Republican. It's about power and money. And the bankers will always be on top in this country. And this is a prime example. I mean, he's Donald Trump. He's a billionaire. He doesn't talk to the farmers in Iowa. He doesn't hang out with them. That's not who his community is.
But those are the people that elected him.
Exactly.
Because he understands down trickle economics. He understands that if you raise $15 hour minimum wage, what are you going to do? Your cost of goods are going to go up. You're seeing here locally, the restaurant guys are already complaining. They're going to have to raise their prices 15 to 20% because of the hourly increase.
I think
Trump understands that.
I think he had a strong support of Christian conservatives in this country, and they're going to have a reality an awakening soon when they realize he's not one of them. He claims to be a Christian, but he doesn't really know the Bible or anything. His past is, one of debauchery of 3 marriages and models and that type of stuff. And so he's not one of us.
Doesn't drink and doesn't do any drugs. So you make him out to be a playboy, but he doesn't do any of that. I mean, he is straight water guy.
Clean living.
Yeah.
But the thing is, people are soon going to realize that he's a Wall Street person. He's a rich person. He's not the person that you're going to drink, well, literally not drink a beer with, because he doesn't drink beer. But, just my predictions, we'll see that most of America, he's going to feed them stuff like we're going to go after the Muslims, we're going to go after the Mexicans, whatever.
That's irrelevant. Nobody gives
it is irrelevant. But when people look at their paychecks, they're going to realize that he's just another corporate person.
Their paychecks will get bigger. The economy will grow. Small business will be better. We'll all be better off underneath Trump. We've already seen it with if Hillary was elected, you would have seen numerous companies leave this country. That would have been job loss, and then trickle-down economics would have affected the mom and pop at the bottom. With Trump, you've seen companies stay, so you'll see more small businesses grow and thrive.
All right, we'll be right back. It is the Monthly Showdown. Sean McCluskey and David Morales. This is Buckmaster at 12:17. Be right back. Welcome back to the Buckmaster Show. It's our monthly showdown. Sean McCluskey and David Morales. David, one of your heroes is coming to town, Noam Chomsky.
Noam Chomsky, yes, MIT professor of linguistics.
What do you like so much about this guy?
One of my, bucket list items was to meet him in person.
Really?
And it's funny because thanks to the Republicans, after 2010, he's come actually multiple times. And he comes actually every year now, because Tucson is now a focal point nationwide for things like immigration, policies that banning Mexican American studies, stuff like that. So his daughter actually works for No More Deaths, I believe. And so he's got a connection here, and I think she works in Nogales. So, and so what do I like about him?
Yeah, what's the attraction?
If you read his stuff, he's super brilliant, and you can go back. And I recommend this to everyone. Go to YouTube and you can look up a nice debate between him and William Buckley Jr. And this is I think the heyday of debates. I mean, people would just watch this at home, and now you just have Fox News with 20 people at the same time. But it's intellectual debate. It's debate that is focused on facts and the history, and not just propaganda and feeling. And that's what I like about him. He's a super intellectual, knows about everything, and he's been involved since the 50s. When he first became a professor, he protested the Vietnam War before it was popular to protest the Vietnam War.
But he's a superstar of the left.
Yes.
I would say so.
Yeah, he's a little on the extreme side sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
What's
extreme?
Far left of the middle?
No, but what has he said that's extreme to you?
Just in what you were talking about the Buckley debate, there were some things in there. Very articulate man, very very educated. But you look at the two differences in extreme is maybe not the right word, but their ideas are extremely different when you look at Buckley versus Chomsky.
Yeah, I mean, so he's a very anti-war person. So, I mean, that's probably the most liberal thing. That's what he focuses on a lot, is being anti-war. He was also, he had different views of, and he's actually met Fidel Castro. When Bush met Hugo Chavez in Venezuela, he gave him a copy of Noam Chomsky's book, just so you can understand the history of Latin America. Not from the American perspective, where the way we view things is America's good, everyone else is bad. Communism bad, domino theory. We got to spend all our money fighting these people. And what he's realizing is, the United States. This is the biggest shocker, I guess, from a lot of people, is maybe the United States isn't always good, and maybe, in fact, like he says, the United States is one of the world's largest terrorist organizations.
Really, the United States is a terrorist organization?
It's our involvement in foreign countries when they're falling apart. He doesn't think that we should be the world's police officer, and I happen to agree with him on that topic at times.
What I like about it is he was challenged by this, and there's another YouTube clip of this, and he says, "Give me any definition of terrorism, and any definition that you give him, he'll show you how the United States is part of that." You want to terrorize other countries. You want to terrorize civilians. You want to terrorize your own people. Torture. Any definition that we have for any terrorist organization out there, we're guilty of it, sometimes many times over.
So then, what in that definition there, the anti-Trump protesters after the election would be not only domestic terrorists, but financial terrorists and just terrorists in general, is what you're saying.
Protesting is not bad. I mean, he's talking about actual...
I agree with you if they protest and it's peaceful and there's no destruction, but when they set fires to flags and they set fires to cars and they break into businesses and they cause economic damage, then now you're an economic terrorist. According to Chomsky.
Well, I don't think he said that. I mean, we're talking
any act of aggression or destruction, I believe, is what his words were.
Let me give you an example. So, if we were an objective people in America, we would view what's going on in Israel, Palestine as there's a clear wrong side. I mean, you have people who are being bombed by the thousands, killed. And we think that's okay. And we don't view the people there that are being bombed and killed by the thousands as victims. And that's because Israel, if you look at the history of the United Nations votes, even with Cuba, it's usually every nation against two people. They're like a rubber stamp in the United Nations.
But according to Chomsky, regardless of what's happening to the little girl who's videoing it live every day that she's watching the bombs come, he says we shouldn't be involved. At all.
No, he's for a two-state solution.
But he says that America, as a police force, should not be involved in that action. They should have that resolution amongst themselves with the neighboring countries, not with the U.S. help.
You brought up Fidel Castro. Were you disappointed? Were you saddened at the death of Castro?
I think Fidel Castro is another example of how our history is taught very, very. It's like propaganda in this country. Yes. No. So here's the thing. I will agree with you a lot of stuff. He did a lot of bad things, right?
Thousands of people before the firing squad under Castro.
I lived in Florida, in Miami, just north of Miami. There were people that were celebrating in Miami because the guy died. Like it was like they won the Super Bowl. I mean, they were almost damn near burning cars in the street. They were so happy. So how can you sit here and tell me that tens and thousands of people flee a dictator and go across a 90-minute boat ride in treacherous, shark-infested waters to escape the guy, and yet he's your hero?
He's not my hero. What I'm saying is, first of all, the United States is one of the only countries in the whole world that did not, like, all the other countries in the world were mourning, a person that died. We're the only country that doesn't see it that way, and that's because we've had interest in Cuba for a long time. Now, yes, he has done a lot of bad things, but you got to look at the CIA has had 638 assassination attempts on him. They've continuously tried to overthrow the government from the Bay of Pigs onward. Operation Mongoose, look it up. So the thing is, when you're running a country where everyone is trying to kill you and take over, you're going to have extreme things. Like, for example, if right now in this studio, if we found out that we're under attack and one of you guys is a spy, and take over the whole thing, it's the different nature, it's different,
But he killed so many political prisoners.
Let me ask you this.
But I mean, the United States does that. I mean, Hiroshima, how much did we kill in one?
Let's go to the live line real quickly. Richard is with us. Hey, Richard.
Hey, guys. There's some truth to both of these arguments, but we just went from the far left or semi-far left with Obama. We've gone now to the far right with Trump. That's like this debate, Bill. We have the hard left here and the hard right.
Right.
This is not America. We need to try to find the middle again, people, wherever that is.
Well,
how do we get there?
That's what I would. Yeah, that's what I would like to find. The middle. How do we get there? It's a good question, Richard.
You put everybody back to work.
I think so. Here's an example of where most Americans would actually like single-payer health care, like 70%. But people are always like, oh, no, we don't want socialized healthcare. We don't want communism. We don't want this stuff. But see, that's like the rhetoric. The rhetoric out there scares people, where what people actually want is actually more left of center if you look at the actual statistics. But if you read the news, they're always talking about right of center. So there's a disparity in reality here.
But you're saying people want the progressive, the left of center.
I mean, if you truly believe in if you have a Christian background, why would you not want health care? Why would you not want education for? That's something that in Cuba, that's one thing a lot of people don't talk about. No one was hungry in Cuba. No one was uneducated in Cuba.
It was hard to get an aspirin in some hospitals.
No, their healthcare was being exported across the world. In fact, look at the video on YouTube.
They were very selective in their healthcare. If you were elderly, you didn't get it.
No. If you go to YouTube and look for a video of Nelson Mandela when he goes to kill Fidel Castro and he thanks him and he says, "When are you coming to South Africa? We would not have won against our apartheid was it not for you." Now, meanwhile, Reagan and Margaret Thatcher were promoting apartheid. Cuba was sending people to Angola, to South Africa to fight for
Look at some
for
of the
freedom.
current drone video that's going outside of the major cities in Cuba, and look at the slums that are out there. And look at Facebook, and look at the Americans that were there that were fearful to speak out on social media because they knew the government was watching. How do you have people live like that?
Okay, I'll give you. Well,
quickly,
we have
we're
our
out of
Patriot
time.
Act and stuff, but you're right about one thing. In Cuba, they do have a history of human rights violation that's called Guantanamo Bay, where they torture prisoners to this day.
All right, Sean, you want to quickly rebuttal that, or just
No.
leave it?
I'm going to leave that one.
Leave it.
Leave
to
that one
hang
go.
That
Yep.
one to dry.
Let that
All
one
right.
go.
David Morales, thank you, David, and Sean McCluskey, thank you, sir.
Thanks
and
for
I
having
hope
me.
I will not see both of you before the holidays. So I hope you'll both have a great holiday season.
Merry Christmas
Thanks a
to you
lot.
as well.
Merry Christmas.
All right, we will be right back on the Buckmaster Show.